Hey everyone, Happy New Year. Welcome to today's episode of the Firefighting Female Podcast. Today I'm going to discuss New Year's resolutions versus intentions that I wrote down and created. These are ones that I wrote for myself. Obviously, everybody is different. So feel free to incorporate some of what I am going to present into your New Year's resolutions and intentions, or create your own. So first, I like to say New Year's intentions versus resolutions because a resolution is a statement and there's no wiggle room. I feel it sets you up for failure. For example, a common one is, I'm going to lose 20 pounds in 2024. So there's nothing else that can change with that. You've made a statement, and if it doesn't happen, you're going to feel bad in many cases and feel defeated. And there's no point in doing that. An intention has a lot of wiggle room and it leads to adjustment. So you can say something such as, in 2024, I'm going to feel more healthy mentally and physically. And then to do that, I'm going to lose anywhere between 10 and 20 pounds by exercising more and by reducing my dessert intake and increasing my fruit intake, or whatever works best for you. So that's the general idea. So I say I'm going to set a New Year's intention. So here are some things that I came up with that are pertinent to our field. Number one, get your annual physical. And I know this is stressful because we fear the unknown. And God forbid, what if something is found that might either put us on light duty or take us off of our job for a while? It's important, though, to be very honest with your physician because we want to get accurate baselines. And that means that we find out what our lab values are, what our heart rate is, our blood pressure, and make sure that everything is established so we have a plan of action to improve ourselves physically. And hopefully everything is perfect and you don't really have anything to worry about. But if something comes up, such as high blood pressure or high cholesterol, we're able to resolve that, improve that, and make you better physically and do better on your job and in life in general. So some fire services offer a physical through their county. And I'm in Montgomery County, and we have that at our FROMS, Fire Rescue Office of Medical Services. But some people have to get annual physicals through their own physician. And if you go to the First Responder Center for Excellence's website, you can find out a list of things that we are predisposed to as first responders that you can have your physician look at and say, hey, these are what I'm predisposed to. Can you make sure you give me a good check to make sure I don't have any of these problems? So that's the first thing. The second thing, personal fitness. Everybody has different goals. Some want to increase muscle, some want to increase endurance. Some people want to increase both. So set up individualized plans. If you need to get a trainer, that's great. There's many programs out there to follow. Also remember, we're doing functional fitness. So things that correlate to making our jobs easier, such as picking things up off the ground, raising ladders, carrying things, even just wearing your gear, because as we know, the gear, depends upon how much you have in your pockets, can be quite cumbersome. And allowing for anything else that we have to do, bending, raising up our legs, raising up our arms. You get the picture. Incorporating both flexibility, endurance, and strength is all important. So you set things up according to what you need and what's best for you. You also may have injuries that you're dealing with too. So that's important to remember. Now, the next thing is to make sure that we have safety on the fire ground. So wearing your full PPE throughout the duration of an incident, including your SCBA during salvage and overhaul, is important. And I know after working a fire, nobody wants to wear their SCBA for salvage and overhaul, but that's also a time where we can breathe in a lot of things and we're exposed to a lot of contaminants that can eventually create really bad things such as cancer for us. So it's important. It's cumbersome. I know it's awful, but wear it. That could be a good intention. Shower as soon as possible after being exposed to products of combustion or other contaminants. So we say shower within the hour. Hugely important. As equally important is using your wipes. Wipe down your face, your hands, your neck, armpits. Make sure that you wipe off as much as you can prior to even getting back in the apparatus cab. That's another thing. Make sure you decontaminate the fire apparatus interior, including your SCBA and any tools that you worked with. And by all means, make sure that if you're going to eat in the canteen, if your area has a canteen, or if you have anything that's provided for you or that you've brought in your go bag onto the apparatus, please, please, please make sure that you wipe down your hands and your face, mouth area before you eat, just to make sure that you're not getting any of those contaminants or combustibles ingested. Because everything that we do, we're focusing on reducing risk of cancer, cardiovascular disease, making sure that we are mentally and physically stable. So we want to make sure that we're doing the best jobs for ourselves that we possibly can. And that's why some of these intentions were put in place, just to keep us as happy and healthy as possible so we can have a really great career leading to a happy, healthy retirement. So the next thing that we can do when I talk about stress is to find ways to reduce stress. And I say one intention is to incorporate box breathing into our daily routine, whether we're at the firehouse or anywhere. Anytime you feel stress, you can box breathe. It's such an effective tool. Nobody even knows you're doing it. So to box breathe, what you do, and it can be sitting down, standing up, laying down, eyes open, eyes closed. You take a deep inhale for 4 seconds. You hold that breath for 4 seconds. So I say inhale, hold the breath. Then you exhale deeply for 4 seconds. And then you pause for 4 seconds. So there's your box. And you can do this as many times as you need to in a row to really feel the effects. But it's the simplest technique, and you really feel release of stress after even just one box. I try to do it for about a minute. And that really seems to lower blood pressure, lower cortisol release. It's a great way to reduce stress. So that could be an intention. Box breathe when feeling stressed to reduce your stress. Another thing is to improve your diet. So when we say improve your diet, food is not just for nutrition. Enjoy the foods that you eat. There's nothing that's a bad food. Everything is good. But as we say, in moderation. So for example, we eat healthy 80% of the time and not as healthy 20% of the time. So choose your fruits and vegetables, 4 to 5 servings a day, your high dietary fiber, 3 servings a day, and that would be your oatmeal, your brown rice, quinoa, whole wheat bread, whole wheat pasta. A great snack is popcorn, fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts. Those are all great forms of high dietary fiber. 3 servings of dairy a day. And when you're doing that, try for the lower fat options, because when we get into whole milk, that contains saturated fat, and that can cause us to have increased cholesterol issues. Although some people find it tastes better, you can always maybe mix half and half at first and try to wean yourself down to the lower fat options, because I know for some it's a taste issue, and I completely understand. So you do what's best for you, knowing that eventually your intention is to go to the healthier food source. Another thing, and there's no judgment when I say this because we're adults and we enjoy our adult beverages, but alcohol is something for many people, set an intention for, maybe to reduce alcohol intake. And the recommendation, if you choose to drink, is for a man no more than 2 servings of alcohol a day, and for a woman, no more than 1 serving a day. So what constitutes a serving? It's 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or 1.5 ounces of a spirit, so bourbon, scotch, rum, vodka, those types of drinks. And that is the recommendation for alcohol. So an intention can be, I want to improve my health by reducing my risk of alcohol consumption. And again, it's a weaning process for some. Caffeine can also be included as another weaning process for some, because many of us in the fire service start our day off with a cup of coffee, and after every shift, enjoy another cup. So the recommendation is not to exceed 400 milligrams of caffeine a day. So what does this mean in servings? Basically, 1 8-ounce cup of coffee contains 95 milligrams of caffeine. So 4 cups of coffee a day. But we have to look at other sources of caffeine too. Even chocolate has caffeine. The thing about this is sleep. There's a half-life of caffeine, and that's 5 hours. So for example, and this is not even for shift, because on shift we never know what we're going to get, obviously. But for off shift, if you want to go to bed at 10 o'clock at night and you know that you have a 5-hour half-life of caffeine, that means to have your last cup at noon, because you still have at 5 p.m. half of that amount of caffeine in your body. So it's not really going to be gone until 10 p.m. Now, there are those of us that are fortunate that don't have to worry about this because caffeine doesn't really affect your sleep. But for those that are very sensitive to it, that could be an intention to drink my last cup 10 hours prior to going to bed on a non-shift night. In regards to keeping ourselves safe in the station, an intention can be to make sure that all turnout bunker gear, whatever you call it, is left in the bays. As soon as you get off of the unit, whatever you're still wearing, if you're still wearing anything, leave it in the bays. Make sure it never enters into your living or sleeping quarters, because we don't want to bring any type of contaminants or combustion, anything, into our living quarters. Keep heavily soiled gear out of the apparatus cab until it's cleaned. Depending upon where you are, I know budgets are tight in many areas, well, in all areas, but tighter in other areas. Make sure that gear gets cleaned. Make sure that that hood gets cleaned if you don't have a hood to replace the one that you just wore until your hood becomes clean. So important. Let's keep those contaminants away from our face so we're not breathing or ingesting anything. It can also be absorbed through our skin, as we know too, and that's why we want to shower within the hour. So stay on top of the research. Also, we're in such an exciting time in fire and rescue because so much research is being done on how to reduce our risk of cancer, cardiovascular disease, injury, to provide longevity to our careers. Keep up with the research and share what you've learned, maybe at, coffee talk time in the morning or dinner time. It's important to take care of each other and look out for your crew, because we are all one gigantic unit. And remember, your health and your mental and physical well-being, if you're not good, that affects the rest of your crew. And vice versa. Your crew needs to be aware of how you are too. So I think that's another thing that we can set an intention for, is to really look out for each other and know when somebody may be feeling down. Maybe if somebody is having problems outside of the fire service, maybe at home, there's ways to help each other, and there's resources throughout the fire service to help one another in mental and physical health. So a great intention would be, I also want to improve my health, but also improve the health of my shift by looking out for each other and making sure that we're all intact and doing a great job together, because we're a family. We have to take care of one another. So I say prioritize sleep, which is so funny because as we know, that's going to be hit or miss depending upon where you're located in the United States and where you're located in your specific county. Because my station, for example, in Montgomery County is very busy. So our poor ambulance crew is really not going to sleep very often through the night, where maybe our squad crew might. It's all hit or miss. And there's some areas where you might always get a full night's rest. So we prioritize sleep when we're not on shift. Now, while you're on shift, if you're able to take that regenerating 20-minute cat nap, that's great. But when you're off shift, always try for your 8 hours of sleep a night, if possible. If you can get more, that's great. Some people always say, I function great on 6. You know yourself best. The recommendation is 8. That's why I put that number out there. So I know for some people too, you can go for days and days, and then all of a sudden you'll crash and sleep for 12 to 14 hours straight. And sometimes that's a reset. Maybe for that moment you feel better, but really try for your 8 when you're not on shift. Enough about that. Another thing I think for mental health, oftentimes we keep what we do at the firehouse within the firehouse. And I always feel that we know each other better sometimes than our families know us. And that's our own fault because our families want to know what we do. So maybe you can limit some details if we've run a trauma or a gory call that might upset a family member, but we can talk about what we do. And bring your families to the firehouse, especially if you have little ones, because they love to see what mom and dad is doing and, climb into the apparatus and see where we sleep and see where we eat and meet the people that we work with. Because as a fire department family, why not extend our fire department family and our joy to the families that we go home to? We can just make it even better. And that way you can talk about things, because a great way to relieve stress is to talk about things that bother us and be open and honest about things too. So communication can be a great intention. Improve our mental and physical well-being with communication and family support. And that also leads to pets. So I love pets, and if I had my way, I'd have a 500-acre bit of land and 1 million dogs and cats. So if you have a pet, walk your pet. Or if you don't have a pet, think about adoption for pets, because it takes only a few pets of a dog or a cat to start releasing serotonin. And granted, I know there are some people that have aversions to animals, and certainly for you, don't adopt a pet. But it really is a great release of serotonin. Animal therapy is amazing. So why not have animal therapy all the time at home too? Plus, it gives you an excuse to get out and walk, because your dog will appreciate a walk too, and that helps improve your endurance and your cardiovascular and mental well-being too. Another thing is to be consistent. Whatever you choose to do with your diet, with your form of exercise, with how you train within your station, keep consistency, because once we start, I always use this for an example. In January, if you go to any YMCA or gym, it's packed because everybody's New Year resolution or intention is to start working out. And then by February, it's less crowded. And by March, you're back to your few basic core people that work out all the time. So remain consistent in what you do. And of course, there's going to be days when you're not going to feel like working out, and that's okay. Even if you just do a little something, just stretch for 5 minutes, walk around for 10 minutes, walk up and down the stairs. Anything is better than nothing, but consistency is your key to success. So training, when I mentioned training in the firehouse, that's huge too. So an intention can be to improve my confidence and my knowledge of what my craft is on calls. You might be a squad tech, you might be EMS, a medic. There's always trainings that are available. You can always train in station, because the more proficient you become using the tools on your apparatus, or having game plans because we know nothing's ever going to be the same call after call. So being able to step outside of the box, and I always say instead of black and white, see the red. The more knowledge you have through training, the more confident you're going to be on calls, and share your training. Build each other up and make each other better. You're going to feel great about yourself, and people will remember. They'll say, hey, so-and-so taught me this, and I've never forgotten this. And it's so great to be able to share what you know with others. Sunscreen on all exposed skin is so important. We forget that we may be standing outside on the road or wherever we may be doing an extrication. We may be outside training. We may be doing anything that involves a lot of sun exposure. And it's very scary because I have 2 people that have been diagnosed with melanoma and one didn't survive. And when they showed their spot of melanoma, it was maybe the size of a pinhead. It was so small, and it was detected in one person, unfortunately, too late, and fortunately on one person, they were saved. So get your skin checks also, equally important as doing our blood work and getting our blood pressures done, because we are exposed to a lot of sun. And even just driving in the apparatus with either our right or our left arm out the window, depends upon if you're a driver or riding in the front as the officer, or even in the cab, please, please, please put on that sunscreen. And if you're allergic to sunscreen, and there are many people, wear long sleeves. I know it can be challenging, especially if we're doing something that involves a lot of exercise outside, but protect your skin. That's what I'm getting at. Another thing that we can set an intention for is to separate ourselves from our fire and rescue life. And I know that can be so hard because this is what we love and it's our passion. But sometimes taking that step back and getting away from fire and rescue to reset your mind is so important. And we do that through finding a hobby that we love. And for many people, it's fitness related. Some people, it's craft related. I know people that have gotten into woodworking and have now created such beautiful things. It also keeps you away from that snacking all the time. So for example, if you're done eating dinner and you just are sitting there thinking, I want more, start doing your hobby. It could be reading, it could be writing. So many people in the fire service are producing wonderful books on their experiences now that I've been reading. Write down anything that's of interest to you. Who knows, you could be the next New York bestseller. Anything that you choose to do. Boating, if you want to include your family too, that's another great hobby to have also. Build that family relation. Remember, again, we've got the fire department family and our personal family. Combine them so that you have a great life in every day and everything that you do. The most important thing here, laugh. Laughter is such an amazing way to reduce stress. People have different forms of humor. I know there's those that like dry humor, and I know people like raunchy humor and just straight comedian humor, TV humor, whatever you find, laugh. It's the best form of therapy. It releases serotonin. It decreases cortisol release. Do it. Just laugh. Crack up. Another intention that is super important is hydration. And I think that we all lack a little bit in hydration. And as we know, the rule is, and I shouldn't say the rule, the recommendation is to drink half your body weight in fluids. So a great way to start doing this is to have 16 to 32 ounces of water on your way to work. And that sets the tone for the day because we don't know what we're going to get. We can get a working house fire the second we walk in the station, and we need to be ready for it. So that is a great way to start your intention. I'm going to drink 16 to 32 ounces on my drive in. Another thing to remember is how quickly we deplete our fluid losses on fire ground operations. So if we are on a fire ground operation and we're really exerting for greater than 90 minutes, it's also important to remember that we need to replenish electrolytes. So we do that with 10 to 12 ounces of a sports drink. If you are a person that sweats a lot, you're going to need to increase the electrolytes after 60 minutes of fireground heavy operations. So that is an important thing to remember. And hydrate throughout the day. It doesn't have to always be with water. You can also hydrate through foods that contain water, your fruits, your vegetables, soup. You can do your coffee, you can do your tea, sports drinks. So remember to make sure that you stay hydrated. That's a great intention. Oh, one more I can say when we're talking about healthy eating is to maybe set an intention of portion control this year. And part of doing that, of course, is reading nutrition labels to see what the portion sizes are going to be, but also eat off of a smaller plate, eat slower, and enjoy your food because it took time to prepare it. So take time to eat it. And aside from that, I think we've covered everything on my list for intentions for the new year. Of course, please come up with your own. Now, it's interesting. Everybody says we're going to start our intention, our resolution, come January 1st, the start of the new year. But you know what? We can start an intention anytime because we always want to improve upon ourselves. So you don't have to wait for January 1st. And also, if you've set an intention and you fall off track, it's okay. We're all human and life happens. We may have to deal with a family problem, an aging parent, a pet. Over time, something that happens. So instead of saying, okay, well, now it's, mid-June, I'm going to wait until July 1st to start. Don't wait to reset. Start immediately. And here's how you do it. Stand up and take a full body stretch. Get the oxygen and the blood flowing through your body just to regenerate and rejuvenate yourself. Drink water. Now you feel you've stretched, you're happy, you're healthy again, and now start. So, for example, I know so many people, we call it a cheat meal, and it's okay to have a cheat meal. I always recommend actually that people do once a week eat one meal of anything that you want because that helps to resolve cravings and it gives you something to look forward to. So if you do more than one cheat meal and you find that the whole week you've fallen off the wagon and you've completely blown your good intentions for healthy eating, it's okay. Do that reset, do that stretch, drink that water, maybe go for a 10-minute walk, and here you go. Start again at the next meal. The same thing for exercise. We all know if we skip a few workouts, it's very easy to stay on the couch and not go to the gym or go into your weight room at the firehouse. Just get up and start walking. Once you get into that gym, that first 10 minutes goes by and you're good. And we've all been there. You start to feel good. And remember how you feel when you're done too. That's the other key to success because it's not just physical, it's also mental. And that really makes a huge difference. So remember, you can set the intention anytime during the year. It does not have to be New Year's. And if you fall off the wagon, it's okay. We're human. Do the reset and start the next meal. Start that day. Don't wait for 2 weeks until the first of the next month. And those are my best tips. So with that, I wish everybody a very happy, healthy, prosperous new year. Enjoy the new year. Do the best to improve yourself. Stay healthy and stay happy. Stay safe. Until next time. See ya!